Project MK Ultra was the time that the government got away with mind control. It was started in 1973 as a $25 million budget program where the United States or the CIA was scared that during the Korean War, the Koreans were using mind control techniques that they hadn't caught up to yet on American soldiers, or at least this is what they claimed their reasoning were for the experiments. But there were 189 researchers and 145 sub-projects, and most of the sub-projects were women and children, and they didn't have knowledge of the experiment at all. Like, they had no idea that these tests were being done on them. So the researchers they wanted to find the truth serum. They wanted to find what it was that would make spies or just anyone who they needed to tell them what they needed to know. They wanted to know how to get knowledge out of people. They wanted to hack the conscious mind of another individual, and they thought that they could do that by using psychedelic drugs and electroshock therapy. So there was actually this one case where there was this 19-year-old woman, and she came in with like a mild case of severe depression, and so the researchers took her in and they actually used electroshock therapy on her, and the results were really bad. She was left in pretty much a vegetative state for the rest of her life. She couldn't really talk well. She couldn't feed herself. Like, she couldn't really move. So basically, they ruined that woman's life. They basically killed her because she ended up dying of premature death 30 years after the experiment. But they wanted to strip everyone of what made them them, and strip the consciousness to a plain field so that they could build up that person into whatever they wanted to. So a lot of the people even thought that the researchers were their parents. They would get confused and call them mom and dad, and it was actually a really traumatic experience for them because they're on psychedelic drugs and they don't understand what's going on. But it actually came to an end in 1973 and was exposed in 1974 when President Ford launched an investigation on the CIA. And actually there wasn't any evidence found. There were no charges pressed. We only know about 10 of the doctors who were actually in the research. Most of them have not been exposed, and we don't know who they are. The government released an apology statement to us, basically saying, sorry, like, we were trying to advance our technology, like, things like this will never happen again. And it was just a really bad situation for all of us. And there was only 2 other times that we know for sure that things like this have happened with Artichoke, or Project Artichoke, and Project Bluebird. Those were a few years before, where people were also unknowing of experiments being done on them, but it wasn't so far to the extent of what the CIA was doing in 1973, where they were doing it to so many people all over the United States and Canada, and prisons and hospitals, and just they're responsible for hurting so many different people. And the people who had these experiments done on them are still alive today and living with the repercussions. And you can go on YouTube and find videos of them like talking. They're standing in a room saying, I was a victim of Project MK Ultra, and they never really received much for that. They never got much recognition. But I also thought it was pretty interesting that all of the women kind of have a very similar appearance. They're all blonde, and they all have really like pointy noses. So I'm not sure what they were going for with that, but that was interesting. But I don't think that they could have got away with anything like this today, with social media and the news spreading so fast and quickly, because I was talking to my grandmother about it, and I was really surprised that she didn't even know what it was. And just to know, like, there's people my age who know what it is, and and there's people my age who know what it is. And just the fact that people back then didn't were so lacking in news and technology, they didn't have access to knowing things that were going on. But yeah, I don't think they could have got away with anything like this today. But